Bowl.
This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening, everyone. Energy experts are calling for the introduction of competition in Tasmania's energy market to address rising power prices. The Liberals are vowing to set prices for regulated customers by 2021 to avoid mainland market volatility. But analysts believe diversifying energy generation could be more effective.
The Premier on the sell for cheaper power bills.
Power prices are lower now than when we came into government.
The Liberals want to set Tasmanian household and business power prices away from the national energy market. The state government is already capping energy prices to avoid market volatility and, if re-elected, promising to do so until 2021.
It's likely to take 3 years, but in the interim, in the meantime, we'll cap power prices for regulated customers at CPI.
We're actually in a very fortunate situation as one of the only states that can do that. But in the longer term, we've got concerns that it really does continue to reduce competition.
Energy commentators believe the heavy influence of government-owned businesses is unattractive for private investors. Diversifying the market with varying power generation, one way to boost market competition.
At the moment, the government and hydro set the prices. If there's more solar, more battery storage, then there is more competition in the market.
Tasmanians are encouraged to invest in solar power, but the feed-in tariff is described as unfair. Some selling excess energy are getting as low as 9 cents per kilowatt hour. Aurora Energy then benefiting from an inflated sale price, with the optimal tariff anything over 10 cents.
If they generate electricity and use it themselves, they save 25 cents. If they export it, they only get 9 cents. So it's very hard to do the maths and to know whether it's a good investment.
The Greens say legislation acknowledging the benefits of solar power when determining the tariff will encourage investment.
Other states in Australia are doing that, and we're seeing the price in Victoria, where they've legislated to do this. There's been a doubling in the uptake of rooftop solar.
Over the first 6 months of a re-elected Hodgman government, we will investigate this, review it and reshape it to ensure that we get the balance right to encourage solar.
An encouraging promise for a review with no solid promise of a fair price. Jacqueline Robson, Southern Cross News.
Labor leader Rebecca White has promised $1.9 million to construct an underpass in Campbelltown if elected in March. But it's been met with criticism from the Liberal Party, who say it's a carbon copy of their policy that was pledged on Friday.
Community groups fear if an underpass isn't built soon in Campbelltown, it could prove fatal.
This is a vital project actually for the school and for the community. We have students crossing this highway every day. This highway is getting busier and busier by the day, and it really is an accident waiting to happen.
Labor today committing to invest $1.9 million in seeing the project through, aiming to have it complete by the end of their first term in government, if elected.
Labor recognises that we need to be able to provide a safe crossing over one of the busiest stretches of road in Tasmania. We have young people at this school who are in kindergarten who need to cross this road to access swimming lessons at the recreation ground.
But the Liberal Party says it's not new and is the same as their already announced $1.5 million plan for the area.
Well, they're playing catch-up because we've announced appropriate access for children and young people to gain access to the sports grounds in Campbelltown 3 days ago.
Political fight aside, both parties have agreed to the project, which is welcome news for locals.
So we welcome this news that we're going to have a underpass to make it very safe, not only for the children but the residents of the hospital.
We're the only school on the highway. There is nothing here to indicate that there is a school here, that there will be children crossing at 3 o'clock.
Jessica Moran, Southern Cross News.
The Liberals are facing questions over the placement of political advertising at a former government office. The Peter Gutwin poster appeared alongside a Department of State Growth sign at an office in Launceston. Under caretaker conventions, political material can't be displayed within the precincts of government buildings. A spokesperson says the department's lease has run out and the sign was placed with permission from the owner. The Liberals say they haven't broken any rules but have removed the sign. 40 kilograms of fruit taken out of the fruit fly control zone in the state's north has been confiscated by Biosecurity Tasmania. Officers seized the host fruit, believed to be apricots, after they were being sold at a market in Wynyard. A 15-kilometre control zone was set up at Sprayton and Flinders Island after fruit flies were detected last month. It's understood the fruit has been disposed of. Some headaches are on the horizon for Tasmanian motorists as the Queen's Baton visits the state. It's touring the country ahead of the Commonwealth Games and hits Launceston, Devonport and Burnie on Wednesday. On Friday, it arrives in Hobart with road closures from Sandy Bay to the waterfront during the evening peak.
Avoid travelling to those particular areas at given times unless they're actually going to see the Queen's Baton relay, or to allow themselves some extra time to get to their destination. Bear in mind these closures will take place.
Full road closure details are available on the Tasmania Police website. And with Super Bowl fever sweeping the United States, a group of local fanatics were out celebrating the spectacle with the reigning gridiron Tasmania champions, the Knights, spreading their love and knowledge for the game in Hobart.
It's not, but it's growing, and days like the Super Bowl really pique everyone's interest in it, so it's a great day for us to recruit, great day for us to talk to other people about how they can get involved.
The Knights are currently on top of the league ladder and are on track to play in the state's own version of the Super Bowl in a few weeks' time. Around 80,000 Tasmanian students are heading back to the classroom this week, with summer holidays drawing to a close. Police warn they'll be enforcing school zone speed limits, while the RACT is sending out a pace vehicle to set an example.
Flashing 40s a sign the holidays are over, with some private schools back today. Police warning they'll be out in force to make sure drivers comply with speed limits.
Conducting speed checks in as many school zones and as many rural bus zones as we possibly can to ensure that the message gets out there.
While a 10-kilometre reduction doesn't sound like much, the Road Safety Advisory Council says it can make the difference between life and death.
The slower a car is going when it has an impact, the greater your chance of surviving. You may still be injured, but perhaps the injuries may not be serious.
This year, the RACT is sending out a PACE vehicle featuring a prominent message. It will set an example by driving the speed limit around schools.
RACT will be driving 40 kilometres or less through school zones during the school period. So we'll be setting the pace and vehicles should be following behind at that reduced speed.
Motorists are urged to take care around buses too, with around 30,000 students hitching a ride. Speed limits are reduced within 50 metres of a bus when its lights are flashing.
I think the main message is, again, slow down, watch the children. They're the most important, valuable item being chartered around in buses, and therefore we need every one of them to get to school the next day.
The reasons these laws are in place and enforced is to do as much as we possibly can to ensure that we're not knocking on someone's door this school period and giving them some tragic news.
Most public schools go back on Wednesday. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
3 Tasmanian medical students have been taken out of their comfort zone and given a glimpse into the life of rural and remote medicine. The trio won a Royal Flying Doctor Service scholarship, which flew them to rural communities around the country in a 2-week placement.
These 3 medical students back on solid ground after flying around the outback.
I started back in the wards today and that was a struggle. much preferred the air.
She was on a medical mission in Western Australia after winning a scholarship to work in remote regions.
Incredible experience. I saw landscapes, people, populations that I'd never see over here. I got to basically fly from the top to the bottom of the state and just about everywhere in between.
It aims to expose students to rural and remote medicine with the Royal Flying Doctor Service. Ashley Gibson, one of the 3, spending her time in Port Augusta, where she shadowed flight nurses and doctors. She now says she prefers to work in the bush rather than the city.
The presentations you get in the country are very different. I accidentally stabbed my hand with a kangaroo bone instead of I scraped my hand on a rock. So it's more interesting and the skills scope is much wider.
But being in the air comes with challenges.
In terms of air sickness, I'd rather be on the ground, but there's nothing really quite like turning up to the airport every day and knowing that you're going to be flying off to some sort of exotic location in the desert.
All 3 students hope to work for the organisation once they complete university. Rita Risk, Southern Cross News.
Medical appointments are set to become more convenient with a new Health Fund app rolling out in Tasmania. The HICAPS Go smartphone app allows patients to locate practitioners, get a quote, make appointments and pay. 8 health funds have signed up to the system, including St Luke's.
They'll be able to obtain a quote and have a look at that quote and determine whether that's affordable to them. Once they've made that decision, they'll be able to make a booking. Then finally they'll be able to interact with us, which means that we pay the claim direct.
In the early days, we've chosen to partner with allied professionals. So these are the physiotherapists, myotherapists, osteopaths, dental clinics, etc. We find that they're very early adopters of technology.
At the moment, only 70 Tasmanian services are available on the app, with another 450 set to join soon. Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. The Australian share market has fallen sharply, reflecting steep losses on US markets. The ASX 200 index fell 95.2 points. A short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 79 US cents and 56.2 British pence.
Welcome back. Tim Payne has defended the decision to play Matthew Wade down the batting order last night, despite his man of the match performance against the Scorchers. The Hurricanes returned home today following last night's 25-run loss to the Strikers in the BBL final. Batting at 6, Wade couldn't recreate his form against the Scorchers, got for a duck right when the Canes needed a boost. The decision to bat him down the order coming under heavy scrutiny following the loss.
I think we've stuck with the left-right combination for most of the tournament throughout, and it's just that Darcy batted through most innings last night, so that's how it goes sometimes in 2020.
Payne also struggled to find his feet, notching up just 5 runs, with the Canes outclassed in front of the hostile Adelaide Oval crowd.
Huge opportunity that we've let slip, so everyone's definitely hurting this morning and really disappointed given how well we played the game before. Certainly not happy just making the final. We were there to win it. We thought we had a good enough team to win it, which makes it even more disappointing today.
Chasing 203 for the win, thanks to a mammoth 115-run effort from Jake Weatherold, the visitors showed glimmers of hope thanks to Short and Bailey.
I'd love to said to Darcy Short over breakfast this morning, I'd love to go back and play that again, to be honest. Our first 20 overs didn't go to plan, and chasing over 200, you need a lot to go your way.
The good news for the Canes, Short and new cult hero Jofra Archer will return for BBL 08, with the side's efforts this season well and truly justifying their existence in the competition.
It's scary what those two could become. With a bit more 2020 cricket and a bit more experience. They're both really young, so it's exciting for our franchise to have guys like that to build a team around.
And it was an historic day for football here in the state, with AFL Tasmania appointing its first ever female CEO. Tricia Squires will step in to replace Rob Auld in the top job after Auld recently accepted a new development role within the AFL.
And I feel confident that we've got exactly the right person that the state needs, and we're very fortunate to be able to make such a swift change. In normal circumstances, you may adopt a different approach. This one felt right, all of the checks and balances were right.
Squires, whose most recent position was Community Engagement Manager at AFL Tasmania, says she didn't think twice about accepting the job.
I did accept the role straight away because I'd been in discussions about being the successor of the CEO role, so I knew what I was up for, and I feel like, yeah, there's going to be some challenges, but I think I'm ready for it and think that it's going to be a great challenge.
Squires takes up the role effective immediately, with Auld to remain with AFL Tasmania over the coming weeks to ensure a smooth transition. Meantime, the Burnie Football Club has thrown a last-ditch plea out there in a bid to field a team for the 2018 TSL season, with the club taking to Facebook to invite all those current and undecided players to attend a training session on the northwest coast tonight. The club was expected to make a final decision on its playing future late last week after a lack of player numbers put them in danger of folding. If they can't field a team, AFL Tasmania says the TSL season will still go ahead, but with 7 teams. And the buzz is building ahead of this Sunday's Hobart Cup, with organisers hoping to double crowd numbers from last year.
We've created the lawn area, we've got some great entertainment with the Rubens and Asta, and the fashions in the field, of course, which is always a great day.
And with a bump up in prize money to $250,000 for the main race, Tas Racing is expecting one of the strongest fields in recent times.
All indications are that it's going to be a very strong weekend of racing with some of the biggest names in the training ranks bringing horses over, including Darren Weir, Gai Waterhouse and others.
The lineup for the 2018 Hobart Cup will be finalised at Wednesday's barrier draw. Organisers are confident the Launceston International will still attract solid crowds, despite yesterday's shock news that Australian young gun Alex de Minaur will no longer be playing. Australian Marenko Matasevich took to centre court today in the men's qualifiers, winning 6-1, 4-6, 6-4 against Japan's Renta Takuda. The event is proving to be the perfect platform for young up-and-comers to learn from some of the sport's best, like Switzerland's Patty Schneider, who spent the day preparing ahead of her first match on Wednesday.
17 years of pro was just enough, and then I took some time off, and then also eventually I get the baby girl, so I'm traveling with the family and my daughter, so it's a great time. And sometimes myself I'm surprised how much I'm enjoying it again, but competition and tennis is just, it's my life.
Schneider reached world number 7 in the world rankings, playing in 6 Grand Slam singles quarterfinals and 1 Grand Slam singles semi-final.
Good evening. Hobart 20 degrees today. Launceston topped the list with 27, Burnie and Devonport 23. Fine for all of the state apart from a shower or two over the south and east, mainly early in the day. King Island, Bushy Park and Grove 25 degrees, Friendly Beaches 24, Flinders Island and Wynyard 23, Strawn and St Helens 22 today, Low Head and Lyoweeney 21. Onshore winds had the cloud over coastal New South Wales, Queensland and Tasmania. The broad area of low pressure pushes cloud from the Pilbara region eastwards to the Queensland coast. Closer in, the blanket of morning cloud cleared most of the state by early afternoon. Some convective cloud over the north and northeast later on in the day. Tomorrow, the high remains to our southwest, extending a ridge over the eastern mainland states. The low pressure dominance of the mainland continues. The winds east-northeast are 10 to 15 knots, increasing over the northwest and later the northeast. Light winds inland. And for tomorrow, a mostly sunny 25 for Hobart, a mostly sunny 25 for Adventure Bay and a mostly sunny 25 for Tarraleah, a trifecta. Partly cloudy for Launceston and 26, Devonport partly cloudy, 24 the top and 23 for Bridport. For Burnie, a morning shower clearing, 24 the maximum, 25 and partly cloudy in the west for Strawn and Marrawar 24. St Helens tomorrow, partly cloudy and 23, bit of sunshine for Swansea, 23 the top and 25 for Whitemark on Flinders. UV as high as 10, which is very high tomorrow on the scale. Wednesday, a fine mostly sunny day with afternoon sea breezes, a shower or two moving in on Thursday, firstly over the west and southeast and then the east and northeast in the afternoon, and on Friday showers over the south and east coast developing over the central north in the afternoon. Partly cloudy but warm in Perth and Adelaide, sunny weather for Melbourne and Sydney, a possible shower forecast for Brisbane, storms likely for Cairns and Darwin. Mostly cloudy at the moment, 23 in Launceston, 17 in Hobart and 20 degrees right now in Devonport. The long-range forecast for the Hobart Cup on Sunday, a little cooler but perfect for racing, Joe.
That's all from the news team for now. Have a great evening. We'll see you a bit later with updates. Bye-bye.